The body of the man lay still at my feet, his eyes frozen wide, staring at nothing. I should have felt shock, or maybe even fear, but all I felt was a hollow numbness. His last words echoed in my mind. "It won't let you leave." He was right. For a long moment, I stood there on the dock, listening to the quiet rush of the waves against the shore. The village behind me was a ghost of its former self. Abandoned shacks, empty streets, a place forgotten by time. It felt like this whole place had been left behind, deliberately erased from the world, much like the Ourang Medan itself. My head throbbed, the pressure building with each passing second. I clutched the side of my skull, trying to drown out the persistent whisper that wouldn't leave me alone. I could still hear Vanessa's voice. No, not her voice, I reminded myself. It was something else, something using her. And the deeper I sank into this nightmare, the more I realized how little I understood. I needed answers. The dead man couldn't give me any more, but I had a lead. The captain. Somehow, he had called to me from the ship. But how? And why me? I didn't have the luxury of waiting for the answers to come to me. I had to go back. The thought chilled me to my core. Returning to that place, that ship, felt like walking into a tomb. But I had no choice. Whatever had drawn me into this nightmare wouldn't release its grip unless I faced it head on. Before I could think further, I heard something, a low, faint hum coming from the sea. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing. The sound was distant, but it was there, vibrating through the air like a distant warning. It was the same hum I had heard earlier, just before the Ourang Medan had appeared. I turned back toward the water, my breath catching in my throat. The fog had thickened again, swirling across the surface in lazy spirals. And in the distance, through the grey haze, I saw the faint outline of the Ourang Medan, waiting. It was closer this time, much closer. My heart pounded as I backed away from the edge of the dock. My mind raced with questions, but the answers were beyond me now. The ship had found me. It had always been there, lurking, waiting for the right moment to reach out and pull me in. And now, I couldn't ignore it. I was part of this now, whether I liked it or not. The hum grew louder, a deep vibration that I could feel in my chest. It was calling me again. I stepped away from the body, my mind on autopilot, and moved toward the small boat moored at the end of the dock. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to leave this place behind and never look back. But I knew it wouldn't matter. This wasn't something I could outrun. As I reached the boat, I hesitated, my hand hovering over the oar. I had a choice. Leave this place, leave the mystery behind, and pretend none of this had happened. Or I could go back to the ship, face whatever was waiting for me, and finally get the answers I needed. The fog thickened around me, almost like it was pushing me forward. I climbed into the boat. As I rowed back toward the Ourang Medan, the fog pressed in, tighter, denser. Each pull of the oar felt like it was dragging me deeper into something far worse than the sea. The hum had grown louder now, almost like a pulse beneath the water, and with each stroke, it felt like I was being pulled toward it, like the ship was reeling me in. Part of me wanted to stop, to turn the boat around and head back to shore. But it wouldn't matter. The thing out there The captain, the ship, whatever it was, had me in its grip. There was no escaping it. I tried to push Vanessa's voice out of my mind, but every time I let my guard down, it crept back, soft and pleading. "Help me, Morgan. Find me." It was cruel, almost mocking, the way it twisted her voice into something desperate and sad. I had to remind myself again. It wasn't her. It couldn't be. This was something else, something playing with me. The Ourang Medan appeared out of the fog like a great black phantom, its rusted hull looming larger than life. I slowed the boat, letting it drift alongside the ship's hull. I scanned the deck above me, half expecting to see that figure again, the captain, waiting, watching. But the deck was empty. The ship seemed still, silent, like a predator lying in wait. I tied the boat to a corroded metal rung on the side of the hull and pulled myself up, gripping the wet, slick surface of the ladder. My boots landed with a hollow thud on the deck. The fog here was thicker, swirling around me like a living thing. The air was heavy, damp, and wrong. It smelled of decay and something else, something I couldn't place. My heart pounded in my chest as I forced myself forward, deeper into the belly of the ship. I wandered the rotting corridors, stepping over debris, broken metal, and piles of something darker. Old stains I didn't want to examine too closely. Every step I took felt like I was intruding, like the ship was watching me, its silent crew lurking just out of sight. My flashlight flickered, casting weak, sputtering beams into the shadows. I was near the captain's quarters when I saw it, a tattered map nailed to the wall, its edges curling with age. Scrawled across it, in dark, jagged handwriting, was a single word: Morgan. My blood ran cold. Before I could process it, I heard it again, her voice, but this time it was clearer, louder. "Morgan, help me." I spun around, heart pounding, but the hallway was empty. The voice came again, closer now, as if she was right behind me. And then it hit me. It wasn't the captain calling me. It had never been. The voice I had been hearing, the one I thought was my daughter, it was something else, something that knew me, something that had been inside me this whole time. I stumbled back, my mind reeling. The Ourang Medan wasn't just a trap. I was the trap. Whatever force was out there, it had been pulling me in from the start, using me as a conduit, as a portal for something far worse. The ship groaned beneath me, and I felt it. A shift, a change in the air. It knew I understood now. "Morgan." The voice was no longer soft. It was commanding, demanding. I had been lured here, guided by something inside me that I never realized was there. And now it wanted out. The ship groaned again, the sound of rusted metal straining under a weight it shouldn't have to bear. The air had changed, heavier, thicker. I could almost taste it now, that sickly mix of decay and something darker, something ancient. Whatever was here, whatever was using me, it was waking up. I stood frozen in the corridor, the dim beam of my flashlight shaking in my hand. The word on the map, my name, seemed to pulse on the wall like it had a life of its own. Morgan. This thing, this force, had known me before I'd even stepped foot on this cursed ship. It had been waiting for me. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. I was never meant to leave. The voice came again, clear and sharp now. No longer the soft, pleading tone of Vanessa. It was commanding, deep, and filled with an unnatural authority that sent ice-cold fear rushing through my veins. "Morgan, bring me home." I staggered backward, my mind racing. Home? What the hell did that mean? Was this thing trying to escape? Was I the key? I tried to push the thoughts away, tried to keep my grip on reality, but the ship had other plans. The corridors seemed to shift around me, narrowing, the walls closing in like the belly of some great beast, swallowing me whole. I turned and ran. My boots pounded against the rusted metal floors as I made my way deeper into the ship, hoping, praying that I'd find something, anything that could give me an answer. But the fog seemed thicker here, coiling around my legs, slowing me down. It was like the air itself was working against me, pulling me back toward whatever was waiting below. I stumbled into what looked like a storage room, panting, desperate for some kind of clarity. My flashlight flickered, the beam dancing across the walls, revealing stacks of old, decaying crates and rusted metal tools. And there, scrawled across the far wall in what looked like dried blood, was the same word again: Morgan. This thing had been following me, leading me, for years. My mind flashed back to all the times I had felt off, disconnected, as if something was gnawing away at my insides, pushing me toward an invisible line. I had always blamed it on Vanessa, on my guilt. But this was something else entirely. I stumbled backward, my chest tightening with panic. I could hear the low hum again, vibrating beneath the floor, like the heartbeat of the ship itself. And then came the footsteps, heavy, deliberate. I wasn't alone anymore. The door to the room creaked open, the hinges screaming under the weight. And then it stepped inside. The captain, or what had once been the captain. His body was twisted, the skin hanging loose and pale, bloated like something that had been underwater for far too long. His eyes were gone, replaced by two black pits that seemed to suck in the very light around them. He opened his mouth, and from within, I heard the voice. Morgan. The air seemed to ripple around him, the walls of the ship groaning, as if they were bending to his will. He was coming for me. The ship itself was alive with him, with whatever force had taken control. Bring me home, Morgan. My legs felt like lead, my mind racing for an answer, but there was none. I couldn't run. I couldn't hide. The ship had me. He had me. I could feel the pull now, deep in my chest, like something was trying to tear me open from the inside. I dropped to my knees, gasping for air, fighting to stay in control of my own body. But it was useless. I was the key, and he knew it. I looked up, and the captain was standing over me, his black, hollow eyes burning into my soul. Bring me home. The captain loomed over me, his black, empty eyes pulling me deeper into the darkness. The walls of the ship creaked and groaned like they were alive, bending to his will, or maybe to the will of whatever was inside him, whatever had always been inside me. Bring me home, he said again, his voice reverberating through my skull, filling every corner of my mind. I could feel the pressure building in my chest, as if the very air was being sucked out of the room, as if I was being pulled apart piece by piece. I tried to stand, but my legs refused to obey. I was paralyzed, trapped in this nightmare, my body no longer under my control. The ship, it was alive. I could feel it now, the pulse of it running through the floor, through the walls, through me. The Ourang Medan wasn't just a ship. It was a conduit, a gateway, and I was the key. I had been from the start. Everything, the voice, the ship, the captain, had been guiding me here, leading me, using me. And now it wanted to finish what it started, to escape. The captain took a step closer, his decayed hand reaching out toward me, his bony fingers curling in the air. I tried to move, to resist, but my body was locked in place, pinned by an unseen force. Morgan. The voice was everywhere now, inside me, twisting and writhing in my mind, taking control. I could feel it, pressing against the walls of my consciousness, forcing its way in. I gritted my teeth, fighting back with everything I had, but it was too strong. I could feel myself slipping. But then, just as I was about to give in, something inside me snapped. A surge of raw, desperate anger broke through the fear, cutting through the fog that had clouded my thoughts. This thing, whatever it was, had taken everything from me. My daughter, my life. It had controlled me, manipulated me, used me as a pawn in its twisted game. And I wasn't going to let it win. Not like this. I forced my legs to move, dragging myself up from the floor. The pressure in my chest intensified, but I pushed through it, locking eyes with the captain's hollow gaze. I wasn't afraid anymore. I couldn't afford to be. "You want me to bring you home?" I snarled, my voice shaking with rage. "Then come and take it." The captain's head tilted, as if he hadn't expected me to fight back. For a moment, the ship seemed to hesitate, the groaning of the metal walls fading to a low hum. I could feel the pull lessening, the pressure in my chest easing just enough for me to act. I took a step forward, my heart pounding, and then another, closing the distance between us. My mind was screaming, my body on the verge of collapse, but I couldn't stop now. Not until I finished this. The captain's hand shot out, faster than I could react. His fingers closed around my wrist, cold and unyielding, like iron. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I stared straight into the black void where his eyes should have been and whispered, "You won't have me." I wrenched my hand free, with a strength I didn't know I had, pulling away from his grasp. My flashlight flickered, the beam cutting through the fog, and in that moment, I saw it. The artifact, the thing that had started it all. A small, twisted piece of metal embedded in the floor beneath the captain's feet. The captain's head snapped toward the light, and for the first time, I saw something close to fear flicker across his decayed face. I had found the source. Without thinking, I lunged for the artifact, my hands closing around the cold, jagged edges. The captain screamed, a sound so inhuman it made my blood run cold. The ship shook, the walls trembling as if the whole structure was about to collapse. But I didn't let go. I pulled with all my strength, and the artifact came free. The captain's scream cut through the air like a knife, and the pull in my chest vanished. The ship went still, silent, and then it began to fall apart. The moment the artifact came free from the floor, the ship began to collapse. The walls shuddered violently, and I could feel the whole structure tilting, groaning, as if some unseen force was ripping it apart from the inside. The captain's scream still echoed in my ears, but it was fading now, swallowed by the roaring sound of metal being torn apart. I staggered to my feet, gripping the artifact tightly in my hand. It felt cold, unnaturally heavy, like it carried the weight of the sea itself. I couldn't look at it for too long. Something about the way the jagged metal twisted in the light made my eyes ache, my head pound. But I knew I couldn't let go. This was the source. The thing that had tied me, the captain, and this cursed ship together. I had severed the link, but the cost was high. The Ourang Medan was falling apart. The floor beneath me tilted, sending me stumbling into the corridor. I needed to get off this ship, and fast. I could hear the deep, echoing groans of the hull as the ocean pressed in, threatening to swallow the wreck whole. The fog swirled around me, thicker than ever, wrapping around my legs as I ran. Every step felt like I was sinking into the ship itself, like it was trying to pull me down with it. The air was filled with the smell of rust, decay, and something else. Something wrong, like the stench of death that clung to the ship's bones. The captain was gone. His presence had vanished the moment the artifact was pulled free. But the ship was still alive, still hungry, and I wasn't sure I could outrun it. I reached the deck, the cold night air hitting me like a slap to the face. The fog was so thick now that I could barely see the outline of the small boat I had tied up earlier. My heart pounded as I stumbled forward, the deck creaking and shifting beneath my feet. The ship was sinking. I could feel the pull of the water below, dragging the Ourang Medan down piece by piece. I reached the side of the ship, but the boat was gone. The rope I had tied it with lay frayed and torn on the deck, as if it had been severed by something lurking below the surface. Panic clawed at me, but I forced it down. I didn't have time to think. I needed to get off this ship, or I was going down with it. The water below churned violently, the fog swirling like a whirlpool. I stared into the depths, and for a brief moment, I saw something. A shadow, something massive and dark, lurking just beneath the surface. The captain, or something worse. The ship groaned again, tilting sharply to one side. I had no choice. I leaped off the deck, plunging into the freezing water below. The cold hit me like a sledgehammer, stealing the breath from my lungs, but I forced myself to keep swimming, fighting against the pull of the sinking ship. I broke through the fog, gasping for air, and for a brief moment, I thought I had made it. I looked back, watching as the Ourang Medan finally disappeared beneath the waves, swallowed by the sea. But the relief was short-lived. The artifact in my hand pulsed, cold and heavy, and in the distance I heard it again. A voice, his voice. "It's not over, Morgan." The fog swirled around me again, and the truth hit me with brutal clarity. I hadn't destroyed it. I had only unleashed it. The sea was its home now, and it was waiting. I don't know how long I drifted in the water. The cold had numbed every part of me, but the artifact in my hand pulsed with life, its weight a constant reminder that I hadn't won. I had survived, but that was it. I had only survived. Eventually, a fishing boat found me, pulled me from the sea. I don't remember much after that, just fragments of conversations, blurry faces staring down at me, asking questions I didn't have the energy to answer. They wanted to know what had happened, how I ended up in the middle of the bay, clinging to a piece of twisted metal. I gave them nothing. There were no answers I could give them that would make sense. How could I explain what I'd seen, what I'd felt? Weeks passed. My body healed, but my mind was a different story. The dreams started not long after they discharged me from the hospital. At first, they were small things, whispers in the dark, the faint sound of footsteps echoing just outside my door. But then they grew worse. In the dreams, I'm always back on the Ourang Medan, wandering its endless corridors, the fog wrapping around me like a shroud. I can hear the captain's voice, calling me, guiding me deeper into the ship. "Bring me home, Morgan." And each time, I wake with the same thought seared into my mind. Is it really over? The artifact sits in a locked drawer in my apartment, but I can feel it, always there, pulsing with a cold energy that keeps me on edge. I've thought about getting rid of it, throwing it into the ocean, or locking it away somewhere it can't be found. But I know it won't matter. The thing I unleashed, the force that had controlled the captain, it's still out there, in the sea, waiting, and I am its anchor, its link to this world. I've kept to myself since that night. There are no more cases, no more investigations. The people around me don't understand why I've disappeared, why I've cut myself off from everything. But I know they'll never get it. How could they? I hear the ocean now, even when I'm miles away from the shore. It whispers to me, like the fog that surrounded the ship, pulling me back. It wants me back. I haven't stepped foot near water since I was rescued, but I know that won't last. Sooner or later, I'll be drawn to it again, like a moth to a flame. It's only a matter of time before I go back to the sea. And when I do, the captain will be waiting. Sometimes, late at night, I hear him. His voice, carried on the wind, creeping through my windows like a cold breeze. The sea never forgets, and neither will I.